Hey folks, Evil Pajamas here with another Civilization 6 video. It's December 22nd, 2020, so we had the December update last week. And in this video, I will be sharing my personal best in number of turns for a win on Deity difficulty. The game was done on a shuffle map, all the standard settings with Heroes and Legends on and Secret Societies on. I was sort of just going through map seeds in order. Like I just started from like one or something and just started picking random map seeds. So full disclosure, I played up to the medieval era as the first time I'd seen the map seed, and then I was having such a good start, I decided to load up again from and so everything, all the footage up until the medieval era is me not knowing the map at all. And then when I restarted back from the medieval era just to see how fast I could win on this map. So ended up being about 143 turn religious victory. I used Ethiopia, so Menelik, and I started out on an island where I was sort of pretty much by myself. So I got to really build up pretty quickly. So here we go. Let's get into the footage of the game. So you can see that my start is pretty average. It's not terrible and it's not great. Um, Leaning towards the better side. I have three tiles that have four production, all very close. Well, actually, one of them has five effectively with the culture on it. So it is a good starting spot, but you also have to remember that Ethiopia, you want to settle on a hills spot, so really that limits my choices to either southeast or settle in place in terms of where I want to settle, because you won't get the bonus to culture and science if you don't settle your cities on hills as Ethiopia. So takes a little bit here, but we end up deciding to go with one move to the southeast because I think that that just gives us a little bit better of a start because we don't have to remove that forest to start with. So lately with my plays, I have been favoring going with builder first in a lot of cases if there is chops to clear. And then if I end up running into a barbarian scout early, I will switch to slinger even if I'm not finished with my builder. I think that that offers a little bit of flexibility in terms of being able to go with infrastructure, but then also being able to sort of adjust to what appears around you on the map. So you see I ran into that dead end, but that is going to be a very good spot for a campus or a holy site. Got the first meet on a militaristic city-state along with Owls of Minerva discovery, and we're going to go ahead and appoint Amani first so that we can hopefully, well, not hopefully, we will get a hero discovery and then we'll be able to see the area around that city-state as well. Now, because we are going to get vision with Suzerain status on that city-state, we can go ahead and turn our warrior around because we won't need to explore up there necessarily. So turning around, we find a tribal village down here, which is nice because that's an early tribal village find. Hippolyta is discovered off of the suzerain status of the city-state, and then the tribal village gives us a builder unit, which is a great start, and also the 70% chance to trigger Void Singers. So because we got granted the free builder unit, we're actually going to switch off of the current builder that has 3 turns left. We can pick that back up later, but we're going to switch over to Monument now. We do see that there's a Barbarian Camp up there to the northwest, but it looks like the city-state is probably going to end up clearing that camp out. So I opt to bring the builder down to where the pasture will go because you can see that I am researching animal husbandry. So that will give us +1 production on that tile when we build it. I believe right now we're more than likely working obviously the silk tile along with another woods tile, the 2-2 split. But when we have the 3 food, 1 production tile, we'll probably switch over to that. So that's going to be, I think, the optimal output here for growth because it's got decent production there and growth. And then I am going to go with mining. Now, I did mention chops earlier as part of the reason I went with builder, but then you noticed I went animal husbandry first. But the reason for that is because I knew I had the pasture tile to work, and turning those pastures into the +1 production, I think, is a worthwhile initial build over chopping if you don't know necessarily that you're going to have Magnus. Finishing up Code of Laws, we'll have to select between the second tier abilities. I favor doing foreign trade unless I know I'm going to be building 3 tiles immediately. So we'll go ahead with foreign trade, and then we'll have to select our government cards. And I'll go with the Barbarian one and then God King because I want to get the extra faith to get the Pantheon down early. So part of the reason that I want to get the Pantheon down early is because I have this irrational bias of always wanting to get a religion, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes. But since I'm playing Ethiopia this time, it does make sense because their abilities center around generating a lot of faith. Now, you can see, as we had discussed about the Barbarian Camp just getting attacked by the city-state, it would have been sort of a waste of time to walk up there. Like, normally I try and get a slinger kill, but in this case, we saw that the city-state was going there, so. But we did run into the tribal village and get 1 population for our town, which is great. And we found another Barbarian Camp that we can actually clear, but I'm not going to clear it on a 2v1 there, so we're going to move our barbarian away and heal, and then we have this really nice tile over there on for the camp. It's a 5 production tile, and then we discovered Hermetic Order for the Galapagos Islands, which we're obviously not going to be able to use because that city-state is hoarding them. But we did find another tribal village, which is nice. You see the December update change is impacting us quite a bit. We'd have 3 governor titles right now rather than 1 because we discovered 3 secret societies, so that is slowing us down a lot. But we have finished mining and we're going to switch over to astrology, even though I always say that's a bad idea to do. I just love getting that holy site early for some reason. Now, we want to flip off foreign trade even though it's not done because it's getting close to done, and if we randomly run into a second continent, that will sort of maximize our boost value. Go ahead and put a camp on that nice 5 resource tile so that it will add 2 gold to it because we're certainly going to be working in that tile. Not likely to have irrigation research by the time that I need to get a 3rd tile improvement to get the boost for craftsmanship. So I need to sort of find something else that I want to improve. And I'm not a huge fan of buying that pasture tile up there or that, I don't know, the milk tile, but I think that that's probably the best option because I need to put another improvement down, and I don't want to just put a house down on a plain old 2 food grassland tile. Now, you'll notice that I sort of look like I'm about to run into the tribal village there and then stop and go back to my worker. And the reason is because I know that I am going to trigger the boost for craftsmanship. I do not want to run into that tribal village and possibly get the boost for craftsmanship. So if you know that there's no competition for a tribal village, even if you have to wait 1 more turn, you want to make sure you clear out anything that you know you're going to get in terms of boosts so that you don't inadvertently get the boost for something you were just about to get the boost for anyway. Not entirely sure where I got the Hercules discovery. I saw the Hamiko pop up, but I did get Hercules and we are building him. That also makes my pick of researching astrology not look quite as dumb, and we are finished with our Pantheon now, so we need to select a Pantheon belief. So we'll want to see, like, is there high appeal tiles around? Because that could affect whether or not we want to take the Earth Goddess for the breathtaking appeal. And that's what I'm going to go ahead and do, actually. Not because there was a ton of high appeal tiles around, but there was enough of them that I think it was justified in adding immediate faith to those tiles to start accruing faith because they're tiles that I'm going to be working anyway. So I don't have to wait for the holy site to be built, although it will be built really fast with Hercules anyway. We still have 3 more turns that we're now benefiting off of that additional breathtaking tile base. It is relatively fortunate that the city-state cleared out the other barbarian camp. I don't know if I've just been unlucky since the patch, but I've noticed that I've had some games with like an unusual amount of barbarian activity. But it looks like that I'm in a pretty confined area here that's just an island on itself, and that I'm going to get to clear out the barbarians. Because we finished our Pantheon, we're going to want to swap out that God King card and add the production card back in as our policy. With astrology finished, we are ready to go to town with Hercules, but it looks like he's out in a leveling party, so he's not ready. He's busy clearing out barbarian camps and finding vampire secret societies and smashing heads of spearmen. If you don't know what to tech next, pottery is a good choice because there's no boost for it, so you're not going to run any boosts. So if you don't have any boosts, just go with pottery. I guess that's my opinion. But there's still some more barbarians to clear out, but we're going to get the Eureka there. A couple Eurekas actually, so bronze working and archery. So Hercules is sort of dawdling here. Cost us some time on getting our holy site down, which is unfortunate. Foreign trade's finished, but there's not really any reason to change policy cards here. We'll have to now select either early empire or state workforce. So state workforce I think is the more obvious selection here because we can completely control that we are going to get a district before the boost with Hercules, and we want to get that as quickly as possible then because that will give us a governor title, which we very much want. Now I swear I didn't just set this up as like an empty map so I could have this island to myself. Had I done that, I probably would have made it much better than it is. It is a pretty good start though. But the map seed is in the details below. Now we have explored pretty much the entirety of the island, so we're bringing our troops back home to rest here. Now, I don't think I mentioned it, but it was around the same turn that I had finished building Hercules that I had switched to building the settler rather than the partially built builder. So we didn't have any cards to accelerate the building of the settler. That's a card you get for completing early empire. But I find that most of the time you're going to need to build a settler prior to actually having access to that card. That you're going to want at least one settler unless you're playing sort of an aggressive domination game where you anticipate taking a city. Otherwise, it's going to just be a long time before you get that second city down. Oh, the other, I guess, alternative is if you have a lot of culture generation, you could potentially get through it fast as well. So we'll go ahead and finish our builder that we had partially built, and then Hercules finally decides to show up at the work site there. Like, I don't know, I need to draw a map or something. Now, part of the trade-off for Ethiopia's very strong ability, which is getting 15% of culture and science generation from their faith production in the city, is that in order to get that effect, you have to build the city on a hills. So because it is such a strong effect, it is usually worth the trade-off of looking for somewhere you can build on a hill. That said, if you are looking to also get the maximum housing from freshwater, that can be very limiting, but I think it's worth looking around for in this instance. That's a pretty big bonus. I mean, you can't tell right now, but if you were, I mean, like if you look, I'm generating 9 faith per turn in the capital, and that, so that generates about a point and a half of each of those. But as that ramps up, that's really going to make a big difference. So we finished our holy site using Hercules, and we finished our builder as well. Because our settler is heading to settle nearby, and we have the city-state anyway, we'll go ahead and build a trader. So I think that the trader is a very good early option there, just because it makes the road, which is a big deal, if you're needing to travel back and forth with the builders or settlers or something, and then also, the additional income generation and whatever else you get off of the route. Now, since I've already played this game, I'm going to spoil things a little bit here. The army that you see hanging out there, it's sort of like the stories you hear about I don't know, for when like the army doesn't have anything to do and they have to sit around and I don't know, like shoot bullets for no reason just to justify I don't know their budget or something. Like this is literally the army I have for the rest of the game. We have finished producing our trade route. We need to settle our city first if we want that to be an option on our trade route list. So let's go ahead and settle our city there. We'll get the sailing boost, a little air score for settling by the volcano. And then we will send our trade route to the domestic trade route so that we get the production and food, which is what we want now rather than the gold and the faith. The completion of state workforce will give us a governor title. So let's hope that I don't forget to actually assign it, though I think that there's some likelihood that I do forget for at least a turn to assign it because I'm a moron. But I probably got distracted deciding what to build in this second city, which wasn't like really a difficult choice at all. But we're gonna go ahead and build the shrine in the capital because we want to start generating the great profit points. And then it looks like I was aware that there was a governor choice, but I don't actually make a governor selection. I'm not sure why. I think that if I was talking to my past self here, I would probably tell myself to take Magnus here because there is a lot of chops here that I want to take, and it shouldn't actually affect the the appeal of the tile. And it's not like I'm playing for like Teddy Roosevelt where I'm gonna like ruin the tiles somehow by chopping them. So, okay, good job, past self. You agreed with present self. Now, because there's really nothing else to explore and I can't embark these units, it's a good idea to, and there's no threats really, that I'm just going to actually just leave the slinger parked out here in case there is camp respawns so that I don't have some mass of barbarians off the map that I am unaware of. So we can go ahead and then swap out the barbarian plus the barbarians card because that's obviously not useful right now, there being no barbarians. So instead I'll have the +2 military production because I don't really have any other option, even though I'm not making any military right now. It looks like what I actually did with the caravan, I missed it before, was I actually moved the caravan to the second city so that it could go from the second city to the capital instead. And that's actually a better play because the caravan output is going to be based on districts, and the capital has a district where the other city does not, although it should have a district shortly after Hercules gets over there. But generally, the capital is going to be a better target for the caravan. So good job, previous me. Now, apparently, if I am stuck on this tiny little island like this with like 3 units, that I just wander around for no reason. Like my guys are going like stir crazy that they don't have barbarians to battle. They're like, I don't know, they need like a PS5 or something to keep them entertained because they are super bored wandering around. He's gonna go play with those truffle. He's gonna go truffle hunting down there. He's the master of truffles. He's retiring as a warrior to become a truffle hunter instead. Sounds like a super awesome build to me. Also, Hercules is like the worst contractor ever. Like I was ready to get these districts built like turns and turns ago, and he is just taking his sweet ass time getting up to where I need him to be. Like you'd think he would get up there pretty quickly with his awesome movement speed and his cool movement speed abilities. We've got the 10 turn warning until the ancient era on turn 40 here, so that's in the typical-ish range. There's not like a huge variance that it's not actually like a fixed number of turns. I wasn't aware of that before. It's based upon the aggregate of the progress of all of the civilizations that are participating in said game. So Hercules, the man, getting down another holy site. So now we've got 2 holy sites down, and we are generating 20 faith per turn, which I think is pretty solid on turn 40, considering that we actually haven't selected any secret society membership yet. So generally, you're going to want to rush political philosophy. Sometimes if I think I'm going to discover a third city state, I will sort of try and hold off for the boost. But given I'm on this island with just this other city state, I'm not going to worry about that. So we're going right for that. Since we have the boost for archery, we'll go ahead and work that, not because we need archers right now, but because it leads into other things that we're going to need on our tech tree eventually. It's not like the only dead end on the tree, irrigation. I mean, not the only, but I've always found that odd early on that like irrigation like just has a dead end and nothing else does. I don't know why, if like Firaxis hates irrigation or something, like they just don't. It's like once you've reached irrigation, you can't actually do anything else with it. So we need a third city, so we're gonna go ahead and give Magnus the promotion to not consume population and start building a settler there because we want to keep our population up high because we have a lot of area to work. I don't know why I have so many tiles already because I didn't do anything necessarily to expand my borders. Except I bought tiles, I guess. It just seems like I have a lot of border already for turn 42. I'm not sure what the deal is with that. If like your borders somehow expand faster if you don't have neighbors. I don't think that's the case. I think it's strictly based upon your culture output and whether or not you selected the Reina governor that has the mystery border expansion ambiguity. But yeah, we have a lot of tiles to work, so we need to conserve our population, and nobody conserves population like Magnus. So we've finished off archery, and I think I just picked the wheel because that's the one that I have the boost for, and not just wasn't a lot of thought put into it. But right now, so we've only got 3 population over in our second city, so it can't get a second district yet. The capital should be ready for a second district, but I am busy building something right now, but that actually shouldn't matter, even though I'm building that settler, because I should have 1 charge left on Hercules. So it's just a matter of deciding that there's a district worthy to build with that last. And by 1 charge, I mean 2 charges. I don't. It's weird how it does that. Like it takes 2 charges. I guess if you want to use his like Hulk smash thing on other people's districts, then you would use 1 charge, I think. I am not sure, but we went ahead and approved that fish source. And part of the reason that we're doing that is to set up for possibly getting the boost for celestial navigation um, by by improving to. So it's exciting times. We're nearing the end of the ancient era here, and we're in a pretty okayish position with 2 cities. I mean, it's hard to gauge like where you really are when you literally haven't met any other civilizations. I swear this is set on the default settings, and there are other civilizations on this map. You just don't see them for a super long time. So we've got our third city, and then again we have to make that consideration about like let's find hills to settle on because we want to take advantage of Ethiopia's ability. Now you'll notice here I'm taking a long look at Temple of Artemis here, and it should be sort of obvious here based upon the number of pastures you see there that is sort of a no-brainer because you're getting amenities based upon the number of pastures and camps and I think maybe plantations within 4 tiles. So the Temple of Artemis there is absolutely a beastly selection. So given I have no idea where the other civilization's progress is, it's sort of a gamble. But I have a pretty decent production relative to the amount of production needed for that wonder. And I don't know, for some reason I must have switched off pottery much earlier for something else because pottery is still not done. I just I just wouldn't want to do pottery, I guess. I'm not a fan of that clay. Actually, I lied. That's complete psych. I love clay, and we are going to, in fact, do our pottery research here right about now. So now we are ready to finish that tier 1 pottery on turn 49, 2080 BC. It's the epic tale of how man learns to heat mud into shapes, starring Hercules and his friend, the settler. We're going to end up here in the classical era, just finishing out pottery. There's something you should actually note if you aren't aware. You probably noticed this, but when you get an era change, there's a cost reduction for anything that was in the previous era. You also notice that I didn't put much thought into my selection for my normal age. It's because I don't find the normal age selections to really differ that much. I would just pick whichever one you think fits the best. Like they're all like the normal selections are all pretty meh. I tend to favor the um the one that's based upon science, but I think on this one, since I knew I know I'm getting religion, I went ahead and went with the expanding religion because it's worth 2 points per era score. And instead of putting down a third holy site, because apparently all I wanted to build was holy sites. So now we have our super holy mountain built there. You'll also notice something now that I didn't notice earlier because I wasn't paying attention. But I also opted to build all of my holy sites, not just around that, but there is actually a volcano there that I just was completely spacing out on. So I believe at some point later during the game that starts to it starts to make my placement selection look bad for two of those holy sites, but right now it's like the iron triangle of holiness. It's holier than you can fucking ever imagine. Now, we do have to be a little bit careful about our population growth. Well, one, here, we don't have a granary there yet, but just because we don't have a lot of improved amenities, and by don't have a lot, I mean zero. I've improved zero amenity tiles. And the Temple of Artemis, if and when it gets completed, is local amenities to that city, which, I mean, it does help because, like, if you have five or more cities, because then you don't have to distribute as much to that city. But with only three cities, it doesn't actually change anything for the other two cities that have fewer amenities. With political philosophy finished, classical republic is obviously the play, given that I have a district in every single city. So I am still working on my religion, so I am going to want the extra great person points, and that means I have three holy sites all generating great people points, and all of my cities will get the benefit of +1 housing and +1 amenities. So, and also making it a no-brainer is the fact that there's no one to fight around. So, and I'm not building any wonders. So, all of those things tend to favor political philosophy. And by political philosophy, I mean classical republic. But anyway, I believe I deleted Hercules on purpose, and you should do that if you aren't going to be using the hero for anything more, because deleting them will give you their relics, so you can start earning that tourism and faith off of that. So as you can see, my great prophet is ready. Never really pay. I feel like I always get John the Baptist. I don't know why, if it's just like when I happen to be recruiting that I always get John the Baptist, but let me bring his head over to the holy site. Well, not just his head. Actually, he wouldn't be very good at founding a religion then. But now, with regard to the religion selection here, normally if I didn't take a pantheon that offered additional ways to get adjacency, like the tundra or rainforest one, I wouldn't select something like work ethic. But because I have like two holy sites with sort of good bonuses and one holy site with really good bonuses, that work ethic seems a lot more appealing here, especially since I'm off on my own. So let me found the Lion of Love. And then, so I am a huge fan of reliquaries, but I just think that, like, given my own little island here, I want to get the infrastructure going and take work ethic. And the other thing I'm going to do that I don't normally do, I usually take the ones that actually generate resources, but I'm going to take the building one here, like the extra building, because I think one, I'm gonna get to temples, the cultural card that, or I'm sorry, the part of civics, the civics tree that unlocks building a temple. I think I will get to pretty quickly with the amount of culture I'm generating, and that will allow me to then actually build those buildings. Where a lot of times I won't get that part of the civics tree that early. So I tend not to take the building ones. But I'm taking the one that gives me the extra spread here because my goal here was to sort of get across the seas and try to spread my line of love religion here. So we've completed currency. If you remember, we got the boost off of that by making the trade route. So I go with the no-brainer one here of just the thing that I have the boost for already because there's not like a tech that I really want like immediately right now. Just go with that. So as far as the city goes, I think the granary is the right option because we are running up against the housing um, at some point here, not right at that time. But you can see that we did get the Temple of Artemis, which is huge. See that we have +4 amenities now in that city. Um, and I'm not sure if you're not aware, they did buff in the December patch the amount of plus bonus you get to non-food production off of amenities, which is now for happy it's 10% and for ecstatic it's 20%. That was previously 5 and 10%. So I can't remember if +4 is happy. I believe it is. So I should be getting a bonus of 10% non-food production in my capital city, which is pretty good. Now we have to do some planning around the fact that we are probably going to resummon Hercules. You can see we're accruing 41 faith per turn right now with 763 total faith, which means that I believe that it costs around like 1,000 base without any reductions to summon the same hero back in the next era if you haven't summoned them previously. So because I anticipate getting Hercules, I want to sort of think, but the reason we go with campus in the capital is because the capital builds a little faster to begin with, and I'm sort of trying to plan ahead a little bit to get the boost where you need 2 campuses. That and your science generation just tends to get really bad without getting at least 1 campus down, even with Ethiopia's special side generation from faith. You can see I'm getting like a decent amount, um, 16 and 18. There's nothing great. I think that like if you could actually see the AI, what the AI had, they'd have like in the 30s or 40s by now. But we're gonna want to go ahead and do a little bit of swapping of our policies here. So we want to get some more builders out, and then we're just going to take the faith and gold because I just don't think that the great person point ones are worth it right now because I don't have any campuses down or I don't have any encampments down to start accumulating those points. So I just don't think it's worth getting those points that the AI will probably sort of grab up those first few great scientists and great generals, and then I'll just be accumulating points towards like a larger and larger total needed to get those. So I finished irrigation, and guess what that unlocks? Nothing. It unlocks the building to actually it unlocks plantations and being able to harvest bananas or something like that. Like monkeys need to be able to irrigate. Or is it clear marshes? No, it's not clear marshes. It's definitely harvest bananas, which I've never been like in a huge hurry to be like I really need to harvest bananas. Like I've never had a game where I've like I need to get to irrigation because I need to harvest bananas. It's just it's such an odd thing to add into that part. But uh, with our second city here, we have so many things to build, and we really need Hercules to come back. He needs to come back to us. We're still waiting on him though. Like we've accrued enough faith to Get him. Oh, there he is. Look at that. Like the freaking lotus flower. It's bloomed to come build a watermill. No, not a watermill. He doesn't build watermills. He's uh he's way too advanced for that. I don't usually like my videos to run too much over like 30 minutes. I mean, I have a few that are like in the hour range, but I just like they take a long time to render. So I think what we're gonna do is we'll wrap this one up, and I can assure you that this will be like 143 turnish religious victory, like I stated at the beginning. But you'll just have to wait for the second part of the video. So apologies for the mislead on that, but hopefully I'll have the commentary recorded for the second part in relatively short order. So thanks for watching. If you like the content, please consider liking and subscribing.